This week on the WriterCon podcast.
The first one is don't be boring. And the second thing is don't give up.
Welcome to WriterCon, a gathering place for writers to share their knowledge about writing and the writing world. Your hosts are William Bernhardt, best-selling novelist and author of the Red Sneaker books on writing, and Lara Bernhardt, award-winning author of the Wantland Files book series.
Thank you, Jesse Ulrich. Hey there, writers. Thanks for joining us. The WriterCon excitement continues to build. We've got just a few more weeks till the conference begins on August 30th. So there is still time to register and join this conference that offers over 70 speakers and more than 90 sessions. What are we up to on agents now? Because we keep adding them every day, well past 10, all open to pitches and actively acquiring new writers. We got 9 contest categories, and it is not, as we release this, too late to enter. There are many paths to publication today, as anybody who's been listening to this podcast already knows, but you can't use any of them if you don't know how. So come to WriterCon and learn how to take best advantage of the tools that can make your writing career more successful. Lara, you've been to a writing conference or two. Can you think of a time when you picked up something of value from a writer's conference?
A time I picked something up?
Yeah, pick the best one.
Every time. This industry is still in a state of flux. It continues to morph and evolve. So every year I learn something. I think most recently, I probably picked up some really useful information about marketing and promotion when I was at a writer's conference, and I have put that to good use and ready to see what I can learn this year.
Fantastic. Jesse, you're going to be there. You're not even writing, but we still manage to get you down there every year. Of course, we do majorly put you to work, but beyond that, what brings you back to the conference?
Again, I love being around creative people trying to do creative things. There's an energy to creators. And as a creator myself, it is just a fun way to again, if you try to boil everything down to a task that we have to complete our dreams, right?
Yeah.
Writing is no different than podcast production or anything else you look to. It's like it's learning how to best sit it down. It's learning the rules. It's getting feedback, and it is then learning how to take something that you love and make it a skill that you can then hopefully get paid for to do the rest of your life. And so I get energized from people who are trying to create things. And so I'm there talking to people, usually running around, miking people up so that we can then make sure that people can listen to those presentations later. And, just learning about all the different tools, advice and sort of experience that you get from hearing from, already published authors, from agents and from publishers.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, then. Our interview today is with Bob Saenz, a multi-talented scriptwriter who will be speaking at WriterCon this year again. He's, I think, don't you get friend of WriterCon status at some point? I know on Saturday Night Live, if you've hosted 5 times, you get a jacket. Should we have WriterCon jackets for people like Bob?
Yes.
100%.
I love it. I'm behind this idea.
You're in charge of that, Lara.
Okay.
Anyway, Bob is a very experienced screenwriter. He's worked in television and film. He's also done some acting in both. He wrote the movie Extracurricular Activities, which was a huge hit. And he wrote Help for the Holidays and a bunch of other good movies. We'll talk to him about his screen work, plus his book on screenwriting, plus his new novel. But first, the news. Well, we have a special theme for the news stories this time, which I know Jesse will be excited to know is romance novels. I mean, last time we picked on the science fiction world with the Hugo Award scandal, but they are not the only genre in the news right now for both good and bad reasons. For instance, here are some of the recent headlines pertaining to romance. Sales of romantasy. Remember that? We told you it was the biggest thing last year. Well, sales of romantasy nearly doubled during the first 5 months of 2024, like cut off at the end of May, and they've already doubled last year. This thing is exploding, perhaps in part as a result of that. More romance-focused bookstores are opening up, and even if in the regular bookstores, Barnes and Noble or whatever, they're putting romance in much more prominent positions. There's a reason for that. Romance sales have increased from 18 million copies, talking about print, in 2020 to more than 39 million in 2023. I mean, romance has always been the most popular genre, but this is just almost incredible. Teens are reading romance in record numbers, and femgore, yes, I said what it sounded like, Femgore, is reinventing horror fiction with this horror subgenre with, I don't know, feminism and gore, I would imagine. Yeah, it's possibly, I have read, rooted to a backlash against the torture porn horror movies that were popular for a while. But as if that weren't enough, that's not even the big story in the romance world. The biggest story is the collapse of RWA, the Romance Writers of America. Now, you may be thinking, when romance novels are doing so well, how can the RWA, the voice of romance and romance writers, be collapsing? But somehow that is what has happened. They filed for bankruptcy. They've canceled their annual conference, and it just seems very perplexing that when the genre is reaching new highs, RWA is falling apart. They've suffered an enormous drop in membership, like 80% in the past 5 years, and I suspect that would cause a crashing budgetary crisis. Apparently, the collapse comes after internal accusations that had to do with charges of discrimination and exclusion, kind of what some are calling systemic problems that have divided the group for decades. And now the whole thing is cracked and fallen apart. Laura, can you explain this? This seems so weird and surprising.
The success of romance, or the falling apart of
the bankruptcy of the Romance Writers of America.
I have friends who are romance writers and did belong to the organization, who are choosing to leave as a result of some of the issues that they have seen. They've had some problems with accusations of bigotry and racism. And I know a number of people who felt that those accusations were strong enough, like they believed it enough that they didn't want to be part of an organization that could be perpetuating problems like that.
Nobody does.
No.
To some extent, and this was last week too at the Hugo Awards, it seems like everything old is new again. I remember way back when, as you know, I was the president of Novelists Inc., an organization for professional writers that started, at any rate, a large percentage of the members were romance writers, and actually how the organization was originally founded was by people who left RWA because they were upset, I think, when RWA started accepting associate members, that is, members who are not writers. But fans, readers, and whatnot. And then there's so many, the writers couldn't get their way on any of the votes. And so they decided to get apart and, start a new group that would be restricted to writers, which, as you know, it still is today. I think it's a terrific organization. It's the most informative conference I go to every year. But it also dates back to problems with RWA. Jesse, knowing your passion for romance novels, can you shed light on this?
It's not that strange that when something is hitting like a peak, that the sort of overarching organization has issues, because then usually something has changed in whatever that thing is when it gets, super popular. And they probably just literally could not handle whatever the new thing was, whether it's the different kinds of authors, the different kinds of fans, the different kinds of whatever. And so there were probably so many schisms that already existed that it just sort of blew itself apart. So.
Yeah. All
as
right,
far as
Jesse,
romance
good
being
work. What?
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, as far as romance being as popular as it is today, even I've been reading a few. I think we're all just very eager for. I think we're all just eager for our happily ever after right now. I think that a lot of people, honestly, since COVID, I think people have been longing for just a happier experience, and they're finding that in the pages of romance. There's always a happy ever after at the end.
As in life.
Yeah. And, again,
we just celebrated our 10th anniversary, except we actually haven't yet because we're recording this in advance, but we will, right?
Yeah.
Now,
if I'm lucky.
Yeah. If art really does reflect life, right? What will happen is there will be a very tearful, reforming of the RWA, probably over, let's say, Christmas.
But this time we do it right. Oh gosh, you guys are the romantics here. All right, Jesse, why don't we talk to screenwriter Bob Saenz? Bob, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. It's good to see you guys.
Again. All right, traditional first question. If you could offer writers one piece of advice, what would it be?
Actually, whenever I do that, I have two, because they kind of go hand in hand. They go hand in hand. The number one, the first one is
linked.
The first one is don't be boring.
Always a good idea.
It's a really, you'd be surprised at how many people don't think of that when they're writing, and thinking that they have to set things up rather than tell their story. And the second thing is don't give up.
Excellent.
It's the people who give up that don't succeed, because there are so many rejections and so many roadblocks and so many close but no cigars in this writing business, that you could get feeling like you need to leave, and everybody gets them. Everybody feels that way, and it's the people who persevere, the people that press on through, that don't give up, are the ones that end up succeeding.
That's right.
It can be very discouraging. Yeah. It's us gluttons for punishment that hang in there.
But perseverance is the key, which has always been a central message at WriterCon. Speaking of which, you're coming, right?
I am coming to WriterCon.
In just a couple of weeks now.
Teach a couple of classes, be on a couple of panels, and
talk a little bit about what you're speaking about and what you're doing and all.
And doing a Monday.
And that too, yes.
Monday class. I'll talk about the Monday class. I'm going to do a Labor Day class. There are extra classes that come to WriterCon that happen on Monday. They're all usually by people that you want to come and see. So take a look at the list, and there's some really amazing people this year and some really cool topics. I'm going to talk about screenwriting because that's what I do and that's what I know. Then I'm going to do a 3-hour screenwriting boot camp to talk to people about what they want to know, what they want to learn about it. You get there and you find out where people are in their journey, and then you take the class and make it fit where they are in their journey.
Very cool. I hear a lot when people find out I write novels. They say things like, don't you ever want to write like for movies? Wouldn't that be more fun to work in Hollywood? Which it sounds very glamorous to everyone. But I'm curious how you even got started, because I wouldn't know. I know novels now, but I don't know the first thing about how you get started with film. So how did you get started writing for movies and television?
I was an actor, and I was on a television series called Nash Bridges.
Ah, yeah, cool.
I was the precinct sergeant in their precinct, and I had a part that big. For people who are listening to this, I'm holding my fingers about a half an inch apart. I had a very small recurring role on the show. Don Johnson, who produced the show, kept me around for 6 seasons. I'm not sure why, but I loved it. And during that time, I got to look at the scripts every week, and I got to see what people were doing and watching it. And I had been in a bunch of movies as a actor with very small parts, or originally when I started as an extra. There are some amazing movies where you can see my elbow or shoulder playing a really major role in some of the scenes. But during all those things, I kept thinking, I really like what I'm seeing in the writing part of it, and I thought I should try and do this. So I wrote an episode of Nash Bridges. Found out that everybody on set had an episode of Nash Bridges, including the guy who watered the plants. I pitched it to one of the producers one day, and he said, "Holy cow, I get pitched a lot of these." And I go, "Gee, that's nice." But he said, "That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
I really like this. It's kind of out of the box." And he said, "All right, I'll look at it." So he passed it along to the showrunner, which was a guy named Carlton Cuse. And Carlton Cuse sent me a really nice letter saying, "We can't use your script. We're a WGA house. You're obviously not in the WGA. And we have a writer's room, and that's how television works. On the other hand, you have a lot of skill, and you should keep writing. It showed me that you're going to be able to do this someday." And I thought, wow, okay, some encouragement from somebody who is, a wheeler dealer in the movie and TV business. So I decided that I would keep writing, and I wrote some scripts, and I wrote one script back there, Extracurricular Activities, and extracurricular, I should be able to say the word.
Yeah, right.
Activities. And it opened every door in Hollywood, and a mere 18 years after it was written, it got made. But it was a 12-year span between the time I wrote my first script and I got my first produced movie. Now I have 20, and it looks like 21, because I think Hulu has just picked up one of my scripts, Hulu original, but
Yay.
I'm not sure yet.
Fingers crossed.
They say the production company says they're waiting for the paperwork, so that's
very cool.
It's been a long haul, and it's the learning curve has been like this, and I appreciate every bit of help I got from people in the industry that I knew, and I did it all through networking, which is why I love what you guys do at WriterCon, because it's an opportunity for people who are not in any of these industries, in the publishing industry or in the film industry or any other industry that happens to be there, like video games or poetry or whatever else is going on at your conference, that they have a chance to sit around and openly network with some of the people that are there that they would never meet in a million years. And everybody is really open and really friendly and really giving at your conference. And it makes it one of the best ones of the year as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you for that. Well, I have to say, I think that comes from the top down. Bill is very selective in who he brings in so that we can have the kind of vibe that you're describing. So I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, it's always great people, and it's always amazing people, and you have agents and publishers and all kinds of people that come in, and they're not sitting over in a corner not talking to people,
right?
And they're not saying, coming down and giving a speech and then going back to their room. They're actually interfacing with people that are there and networking, and it's a really wonderful thing to kind of watch and be part of.
Yeah,
I feel think
the same way.
What we hope for, which your story illustrates very well, it's amazing what a little bit of encouragement can do, and I think that you sharing your story really highlights that for us.
It's one of the reasons that I try and be encouraging to writers that are trying to do this for the first time. It's not a zero-sum game, because somebody else succeeds doesn't mean that somebody else fails. Right. Everybody has the opportunity to succeed. It's not easy, and it's very difficult in the long run because there's so much competition in theirs, and to be honest with you, it's very hard to write something good. There's a lot. It's very easy to write something mediocre. It's very hard to write something.
True.
And so people have to understand that first time out, they're not going to write their best work. They're not going to write something that people are going to go nuts over. They're going to use whatever the first 2 or 3 things they write are to learn the craft of writing. And it's a craft. Okay. And there's so much to it. And your conference helps teach people, wherever they are on the ladder that they're on right now, their next step of where they should go with their craft.
Yeah, that's the idea. Thanks. All right, let's talk about screenwriting.
All right.
Yeah.
Lara?
You also wrote a book about screenwriting. How did that get started? Yeah, let's see it.
It's called That's Backwards. That's Not the Way It Works.
That's not the way it works.
And that's also not the way it works. It's a book about the business of screenwriting. There are a lot of books out there about what goes where and why, and there's some craft in it. And I talk about the basics of screenwriting. But it's the second half of the book that have caused it to sell every day of the week, which I am grateful to God for.
Yeah,
that it's about what you do once you write your script, where you go with it, what you do with it, how you market it, the pitfalls of marketing. Once you get it seen, how you act, how you respond. If you go to meetings, what you do in those meetings, how you take those meetings, how you respond to the people in those meetings, about listening, and about all the things that you need to know to be seen as a professional in the industry rather than not a professional. I talk about how the two things, and I know this is true in publishing too, because I just went through it with my novel. The two things that agents and publishers and producers and everybody else hates the most in writers is fear and desperation.
Yeah. Hey, did you just mention a novel?
Yeah.
What's that about?
It literally just came out right before the last WriterCon. It's doing okay, but I understand that it's not. In fact, I think William told me that it's not a sprint; it's a marathon. And that first-time novels, my first-time novelists, even though people know me as a screenwriter, sometimes don't catch on right away. But it's doing better than I thought it was going to do, and it's doing well enough to where the publishing company has asked me for a sequel.
Nice.
So I'm very pleased with that, and I got a New York publishing company, which I was extremely grateful for, and it's been a journey. It's a YA novel. It's kind of The reviews have been spectacular. I'm very, very happy about that. And some people are calling it YA for adults because it's got kind of two levels of humor in it, kind of like the old Bugs Bunny cartoons. It was the level for the kids and the level for the adults.
Right.
And people seem to be enjoying it a lot. So I'm thrilled about that.
Oh, that's fantastic. Was it hard?
It's called Jessica's Vampire Diary backwards. Right. And
Jessica.
And it's Bram Stoker, when he wrote Dracula, wrote the book as a diary. And since there's a Van Helsing in this book, I thought I would write it as a diary too.
Sweet. Okay, what I was about to say was it hard to adjust from, writing screenplays to writing a novel? They're pretty different.
You have no idea.
Yeah.
Screenplays are writing a compelling story in the least words possible. Novels, you get to do whatever you want. I mean, you get to write all kinds of things. So when I wrote the novel the first time through, I said, here's the story I want to tell, and here's what I want to write. So I wrote the novel, and I was done with it, and I had 79 pages.
Oh, no.
And the reason I had 79 pages is because I wrote a skeleton. I wrote the basic bones without filling in everything else. And I realized that I was still thinking like a screenwriter and not thinking like a novelist. So I sat down and opened my another part of my brain and decided I would do the novelist part, and found it was, my wife says, whenever I come in and you're writing a screenplay, you're very serious, and I can see the concentration on your face. When she came in while I was writing the novel, she said, you had a smile on your face the whole time. I don't think I've ever had as much fun writing anything as I had writing this novel.
That's wonderful.
Well, what does a typical writing day look like for you? So what's your process?
When I'm on deadline, when I have a script that's due, when I have an assignment, and I just started one a couple of days ago, I write 8 hours a day. Sit up here and I'll take breaks and go downstairs and screw around, and sometimes I write late at night or early in the morning. It just depends on the muse. And then when I'm not writing anything on assignment, I'm lazy, but I do write more. I play more golf then than I do when I'm on assignment. But I try to write every day except for Sunday. Sunday's the only day I don't write.
Would you call yourself a pantser or a planner?
I'm a pantser.
Okay.
I am an absolute pantser. I know the ending, rock solid ending. I know the characters. I know what I'm writing about. I know the basic storyline, and I know, like, if it's a screenplay, I know the first 10 pages cold. I know, because I want to open up with something that gets people to keep reading. And then I let my characters take me on a journey on the pathway that leads to that ending. I don't let them get off that pathway.
Well, you say, and that's fine, you can call yourself whatever you want, but you're saying you have the basic the basic plot line, the basic outline for your story. It sounds like
no, I don't even I haven't written an outline. I know what story I want to tell
in your mind. All right. So I think I like to differentiate, just because some people hear planner and think that you have to have like this huge notebook outline full of stuff. And not necessarily. I mean, you can do some preparation and just know where your story's going.
Yep.
That's good.
As long as you have that rock solid ending that you're shooting for, you want your character, your protagonist to get, then you can let them do all kinds of things on the way that they tell you they want to do. You know, you have to listen to your characters. You have to pay attention to what's going on, and not be afraid to let them do things that you didn't think of until they kind of help you think of them while you were writing.
You get there. Yeah. No, that's fun. I like
you understand that. There are people who are writers and go, what do you hear, voices? I don't know.
So what are you working on, I should say? What are you working on now or coming out next?
I just finished a really interesting 2 short films for LA, the LA Baptist College or university in Southern California is doing a really cool project for 9 to 12-year-olds that they called me and asked me if I would write a couple of the 10-minute short films, and they had to be complete stories, and they're calling a lot of professional screenwriters and asking them to do it so that they can turn them over to film students to have them make them. And I told them yes, and I wrote a couple that are pretty funny, and I hope and I with good message, and I hope that they read one of them so far, and the other one they haven't read yet, but they liked the one they read. So I was happy about that. So I just finished that. I'm finishing up a project that I'm doing with an animation studio for a half-hour animation show. And then I have to write the sequel to Farmer and the Belle, which was a very successful film that came out a couple of years ago that they now want a sequel to. So I've signed a contract, and I'm going to write a sequel to Farmer and the Belle. And that's what I'm doing. And I have to write a sequel to the book. Which
that might keep you busy for a while. Anyway.
So I'm a little bit busy.
Bob, thanks for being on the podcast, and see you in just a few weeks.
Yeah, it's less than a month now.
Right. All right.
So thank you for having me. It's nice to see you guys again. And everybody out there, go to WriterCon. It's worth it.
Thanks. All right, just a few parting words. Lara, who I've given no notice, and I'll give 5 seconds. What are the 5 best things, 5 reasons people should come to WriterCon?
Just 5? Oh my gosh, Here we go.
Right.
Okay.
First,
family. You're gonna meet a wonderful network of people that are gonna be there for you and be lifelong friends. 2, you are going to learn more in 3 days than you would believe is even possible. You'll need those recordings that Jesse will be making for us so that you can go away and take a few weeks to kind of unpack and absorb everything. 3, you will have the opportunity to meet with agents and pitch if you're ready. You will have the opportunity to meet one-on-one in sessions with people who can guide you to be ready if you're not ready. And I'm one of them.
Pitch even if you're not ready, but
that's true. In our conference, you can pitch if you're not ready.
A better choice might be lunch with the agents, and then you can just relax and talk. Anyway, keep going. You're flying.
4. Did I mention that I'm going to be meeting with people one-on-one? Sorry, that was
sure.
3.
You. That's number 4.
4. You'll just have an opportunity to sing karaoke with us. We have fun. We focus so much on how much you
came in costume
learn
last year
and how you're going to meet. We did. That was super fun. But we also have fun. It's not all just going one after one after one. You'll be welcomed with open arms. We'll have so much fun. And 5. I'm going to be there. And surely you want to come meet me, right? In person.
Exactly right. I know.
You can meet with me. I promise you, this isn't like other conferences where you show up and you feel lost and you don't know where to go and do. Everybody at this conference is going to welcome you in, and no one's going to let you feel like an outsider or like you shouldn't be there. We are very inclusive, and we love all of our writers.
Yeah. Very well done. From now on, you do all the pitches for WriterCon. Fantastic. I hope we see a lot of you there. WriterCon.com is where you register and get lots of information about it. All right. Until next time, keep writing. And remember, you cannot fail if you refuse to quit. See you next time.